it has become a social welfare state. We have some of the most expanded social benefits, and that's fine, but we haven't grown our economy to pay for them. We need to remember that we have to do sustainable things. We can't build structural institutions that we can't afford over time. Hence the notion that politicians supply us with 2- and 4-year solutions and not 10- and 50-year solutions. So we need to understand that if we don't put money back in the private sector, if we don't keep this, we have some of the most punitive tax laws in the country, some of the highest tax laws. It's no coincidence where we have negative growth in this state. I mean, the problem is we have these things that we've built and we want to pay for, and the state has to operate without a deficit, so that they take the stimulus money a year or two ago and they take that $13 billion or whatever it was, they use it to gap. They don't make hard choices, but now we're facing the same decisions all over again in New York. So to answer your question, New York has put itself in a very bad place. But if and until it remembers that small business built this state, and small business is the only way to get us out of it, we're not going to recover.
We're talking this morning with Republican Richard Hanna, running for Congress. Back with more First Look and your calls after this on WIBX. Quick hits, and then we've got a caller on the line. We did talk about the Tea Party. If you weren't running for Congress, if you said, I don't even want to get involved in this, but you were still Richard Hanna, the business owner, would you be a member of the Tea Party?
Everybody's a member of the Tea Party. Anybody who isn't upset today with government isn't paying attention. There are pieces of every party that I can appreciate. Democratic Party, Republican, Independent, Conservative, and Tea Party. I don't find myself perfectly aligned with anyone, but I do sympathize, and I do get it.
You get it, but would you be a member?
I didn't know you could be. I thought it was just a kind of a loosely knit group of people who feel similar.
Would you attend the rallies?
Yeah. Would you be at the rallies?
Do you support their views?
Probably not. I mean, I have so many friends that are in Tea Party groups, and I understand their concern.
How do you really feel about it?
Go ahead.
No, just. And you said probably.
I admire anyone who stands up for their rights.
Okay.
Privatization of Social Security. We had a caller who didn't want to come on, but wanted me to ask your thoughts on privatizing Social Security.
Good question. I don't think it should be done. I've never said it should be done. It is part of the National Democratic's Personal Assassination Committee rule book, and they're using it all across the country. There are interesting things about Social Security that never come out. But I'm not in favor of privatizing it. And what we do know, though, is this is the first year in history, 2010, when there's more money going out, that by 2016, that will begin to happen again. They think for the next 5 or 6 years there'll be more money coming in if the economy comes back. But by 2037, all the money, all the IOUs that the government owes Social Security, because the money is taken out and used, will be used up. So the question isn't about privatization for me, it's about sustainability. How do we guarantee the future solvency of one of the most successful programs in the history of this country? In I think under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, 1935 or so, maybe 36, there were something like 34 to 1 people paying in. Now there's 2 or 3 to 1. By 2037, it'll be 1 to 1. We need to understand that if the government keeps these huge deficits going, that it can't borrow from Social Security anymore. The money won't be there. So we need to have a plan to cut back on the cost of government in order to make things like Social Security sustainable over time. The spending is out of control in this country. We are killing the goose.
Ken is on the line in, I believe, Utica. What's your question, Ken? Good morning.
Just a brief correction. In 2037, the money's not going to be used up. It would mandate that checks would have to be cut by 20 to 30% rather. So people would only be getting 70 to 80%. It's not going to be totally used up. My question, however, Richard, is you said that you're against that you're for term limits and that your opponent is a career politician, have you pledged an oath to limit your term in Congress? And I have a follow-up to that brief.
I don't know what you mean by an oath, but yeah, I do believe in term limits. I do believe in them for me. I think that 4 or 5 terms, 10 or 12 years, I do think that Thomas Jefferson was right. You come from some private sector experience, some wisdom, some knowledge, you impart it, and you go home. I think that people in government have made their service all about themselves, and we're left out. So yeah, I can tell you right now, right here, 4 or 5 terms is all I would ever dream of doing if I had that honor and privilege to serve you in Congress. That's what no one's ever asked me that directly, but I'll be direct with you.
All right, the follow-up is, do you understand that for 200 years the House of Representatives' power has been based on seniority? In other words, a freshman congressman really can do next to nothing in the House of Representatives for his district or for the country, that you have to have years in the House of Congress to attain a position of authority on the different committees and be in a position to actually do something, to accomplish things, to bring things back to your district. So that the idea that you would be hamstringing yourself, essentially, our district you would be hamstringing by saying that you want to be there for 10 years. I mean, the fact is, I agree with you, we should have term limits, but Congress is not going to change. It's not going to change the idea that seniority is everything.
If you're suggesting that because we don't have term limits, we should keep a mediocrity like Mike Arcuri in that seat, I think that's completely illogical. I do think, though, that generally you're mistaken.
Hang on one second. Go ahead.
That there are many, many stories that Chris Lee in the Buffalo area is doing extremely well. And moving up nicely in the system, and I understand that. I also understand that if you believe in term limits, then you can't necessarily argue that the 10-year system allows us to automatically vote for the same person year in and year out. I think it has to be based on the individual. I've gotten to know a bunch of different congressmen on both sides of the aisle, and there are some that have done extremely well. I think it's up to the individual. I think the smart, hard-working people can move up faster. I think that I just don't accept the premise, but I do understand it, and I know that is widely held. That won't be me. I know how to work hard. I know how to think, and I'm not in this to buy a job for myself. That's not my goal. My goal is to transcend this kind of petty politics that I see going on in Washington and be part of a person who does what Congress people are hired to do, and that's fix problems. So I get what you're saying. I just don't agree.
Wall Street Journal report is next. Literally about 40 seconds left. I got a quick question. Someone wanted me to ask you, a caller wanted me to ask, if you win, are you driving your blue pickup to Washington?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. My grandfather had the same truck the same year. I love that truck. My little boy thinks it's his. Yeah, that's great. I actually enjoy driving it. It's
How many miles do you have on it?
It's quite a few. I've actually put a new motor in it.
Oh, okay.
Parades wear it out, all that idling. It's a 1955 window Chevy, and it's a great little truck.
Richard, Hanna, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Mike Arcuri is on the show tomorrow. Be sure that you tune in to listen to that as well. And give us a call, 736-0186. We'll take caller 4. We've got another 4-pack of tickets for the Zaira Shrine Circus this weekend. Caller 4, 736-0186.